Hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the second in my little series exploring the studio albums of Alien Stashed In. And today we're kind of looking at our second album. This one, 2012's On A Pinstripe Planet. Now this album, we started writing it not long after we finished recording the Upon Us debut album from our previous video. But we were getting a few songs together when Dave Seawood, our lead guitarist, gave us notice he was quitting. Nothing untoward or anything, he was just retiring and moving to France. So we were starting to look around for a new guitarist. Around about this time we did a gig with a band called the Poodles of Doom, and I remember standing at the back of the gig, watch it with Bruce, our drummer, and Angie, our bass player, watching this guitarist from the Poodles of Doom play, and all of us were thinking, he'll be good with, he'll be a good replacement for Dave. Didn't realise that said guitarist had been watching us earlier and thinking, oh, I'd like to have a go with them. They look like my kind of band. Lo and behold, a few months down the line, when we were started auditioning, the first person that shown up was Mr. Jonathan Gould, or John Gould as he became known. And he got the job, and we started writing in earnest. Well, the first thing we did was a bit of a mini UK tour for about 3 weeks, taking in places as diverse as Swindon and the Nethley and Torquay. Great stuff. And but that kind of pulled us together as a unit, and we started writing in earnest. We went into the studio in May 2011. The drums and that, to record the drums and some of the other instruments, some of that was done using the mobile rig at the our new rehearsal rooms that we just moved into up in Hannam. And then the rest of it was finished off in John's garage, because he had a studio in his garage. And the album came out summer 2012, and it's this. There we are, On A Pinstripe Planet. Artwork by me, one of my better images, I think. It's by this time you can see that old E.T. Proby has kind of grown a fair bit and matured and has fleshed out, and there he is kind of sitting in his pinstripe suit overlooking the planet Earth in a kind of businessman kind of like manner. Ties in with the track Greed City on the album, which I'll come to in a minute, because like last time I'm just going to take you through a track by track guide, because the recording of this album actually went quite smoothly. There was no kind of fire brigade shutting the studio down, no quitting bass players or anything like that. So track by track guide, and then I'll show you all the artwork and that. Well, first track, Angel of Mons, became the first part of what we called the Warrior Trilogy. I mentioned we wrote Just Another Soldier's song on the first album. Well, there were 2 other songs that came along that kind of fitted in the same kind of anti-war, kind of horrors of war kind of theme. And Angels of Mons, based on the legend of the angels that kind of carried soldiers off the battlefields in the First World War. Just a load of publicity hype, but interesting story, and we kind of developed it as a kind of theme. You know, it's got it makes a kind of interesting opening cut. Not a track we do live much anymore. It just kind of other material came along that people wanted to hear, so it kind of got dropped from the set. Although, you know, there's no reason why we can't play it. So yeah, that's the opening cut. Then the second one, Another Gig in Wales, which was the first of the 3 singles off this album. I mentioned that we did a tour, and that included dates in places like Llanelli, the Chorus Festival up in North Wales, and a couple of other Welsh dates as well. And we've got to admit, those dates on that Welsh leg of that tour were pretty insane. Lots of alcohol drunk, lots of silly on the road incidents. You know, like getting kind of having a party with a Welsh string quartet was a one of the bizarre incidents on it. Anyway, just the kind of jam in the studio, because on this album we changed the way we write. People used to bring in, yeah, it used to be with me and Dave, we wrote separately, but now we decided the better way we worked was all, with one or two exceptions, was we all kind of bring in kind of ideas and riffs, and we just work them over, and you know, in the end it's quite hard to say who came up with what part of the song, so everything's now from now on, with one or two exceptional points, credited to the entire band. Anyway, we came home, we started doing a bit of a kind of Motorhead-esque kind of heavy blues jam. Started singing about some of the incidents on the Welsh gigs, you know, yeah, bass players going missing and all the, you know, sits out for the lads, etc. And yeah, another gig in Wales was born. We don't play it live that often anymore. Well, we do in Wales, but not in England. But became quite a live favourite for a while. And there's a video for it out on YouTube, which is kind of something I threw together using in a kind of Jackie style, comic book style. So you can have a look at that if you like. Then we got Haytor, which is basically it's a song about getting lost on Exmoor. We go all over the country. We go down to places like Tavistock from time to time. And when we go down that part of the country, sometimes if it's on a Saturday, we'll leave early and take a slow motor over across Dartmoor, taking the view, experience the country, which is fine if you know where you're going. One particular trip, we kind of took the wrong turning and ended up going round and round on Dartmoor in circles. We went past Haytor, which is one of the big kind of rocky outcrops on Dartmoor, about 3 times. You know, and yeah, it was quite a fun experience, dodging tractors and busloads of tourists. And oh look, it's Haytor again. Yeah, we're trying to find Dartmoor prison, because if you find Princeton in a prison, you know how to get to Tavistock, but trying to find Dartmoor on the back lanes. Yeah, it was fun. So yeah, Haytor, it's kind of a hippie, trippy kind of acid improvisation track, really. Yeah, kind of big, kind of psychedelic prog rock epic. Then we've got All Right Now, in complete contrast. A song that was kind of, yeah, occasionally something will kind of pique my interest enough for me to go out on a protest. You know, I protest against against the English Defence League. I've marched against you know, the Gulf War, etc. And one of the things that annoys me is bloody anarchists. You know, okay, everyone's got a right to their opinion, but when you're trying to get your voice over in a way that people will listen to you, and you get a load of thugs that just come along who want to have a pop at the local copper, who's just doing his job and making sure everyone's protesting safely, that's when things like kettling and viciousness starts. Now, I'm not saying it's all the anarchists' fault and all the police are angels. They're not. But basically, I've been on a couple of protests where the you know, these idiots have kind of turned what could have been quite a pleasant method of getting your voice heard into a nasty incident where people have been hurt. Got no time for it, and All Right Now is my answer to that. It's the song includes genuine riot footage recorded by a friend of mine off a camcorder during some riots in St Paul's a few years ago, and yeah, there's a video for this one as well, shot by James Cogan. It was the last single off this we brought out off the album, and yeah, it's just the kind of, it's a bit of a punk number. One that Stashed In don't do that often, because I don't think that it really works as a Stashed In number, although people tend to like it. Although my other band, my punk band Zob, have been known to play it from time to time. So yeah, yeah, Zob haven't recorded it yet. Maybe we will one day. Then we've got Greed City. Now, Greed City is the one track on the album that's not credited to the whole band. This is credited to John Gould, the guitarist. Now, one of the songs he brought to the band when we auditioned, we were trying out new material, and he threw it. And this song, I think he originally penned it for his project Poodles of Doom, and but it became a stashed-in number, and you know, he sang it, and it's a song. It's a kind of a bit about kind of capitalism. It's a song about well, being greedy and kind of greed culture. You know, it's where the thing where the term Pinstripe Planet, the album title, comes from. It inspired the cover, and this album also contains a little bit of a photo montage there, as you can see that, which is kind of it's like diamonds and money, cigars, credit cards, car keys, all the things that are related in referred to in the song. And yeah, and it's kind of it's a great track. Now the thing is, because John sang it, we did do it live a few times, but John turned around and said, you know, understandably so, that the last couple of bands he'd been in, he had been the vocalist. He didn't want to be a vocalist, he just wanted to concentrate on guitar and keyboards. Guys, keyboardist as well as a guitarist. Hence the reason why Gary Turner wasn't replaced, because we were looking for a guitarist and a keyboard, and John Gould could do both. So, you know, we gigged it a few times, but it's never been a major part of the set. Shame, because it's a cracking track, and you know, I used to enjoy playing it, because for once as a vocalist it was my chance to step back from the mic and let someone else do the work. But hey, these things happen. Next we got a track called Alice in Funkyland. Now that's one of a couple of tracks on this album that were originally written around about the time when we were doing the debut album, but there was a couple of tracks that kind of, for various reasons, they weren't working, or you know, time constraints or whatever, they got abandoned and never finished. Alice in Funkyland's one of them. It's a song, riff from our bass player H. Pierce, and the rest of us just kind of improvising around it. It's a kind of funk rock number. It's the lyrics all kind of like a funky version of Alice in Wonderland, but placed in a kind of funk rock disco setting. You know, it's talking about pimp caterpillars choking on hookah pipes, and you know, kind of yeah, the rabbit comes past with a bass guitar and funks away the night, etc. And just the soul of Bootsy Collins. There's references to George Clinton's Mothership, etc. On the studio version, I think it works really well. It's a nice, groovy, funky number. There's lots of I do about 3 different vocal lines on it. It's all into play. There's, yeah. The problem is, it's the sort of song you need a full kind of 8-piece soul band to manage to pull off live, when there's only 4 of you, and one of your guitarists can't play funk. It's does a bit kind of, it struggles to work. We have played it live, but not very often, so it's one that I look upon mainly as a studio track. Yeah, it's mainly a studio cut, but you know, it's on the album, and it's another one that's picked up a fair bit of radio play over the years, because people tend to like it. Next up, we have a song called Downturn Blues. Now that's a song that I wrote spur of the moment job. It's this one I do know is kind of the guts of it are mine, but again, because of what I wrote and took to the band and how it came out the other end, it gets a full band credit, like most of the stuff does. You know, there's a car plant in Swindon, I think it was Honda or something like that. Basically, the way their contracts were worked, it meant they could suddenly sack their or make redundant their entire workforce, or large amounts of their workforce, with no kind of compensation, no redundancy money or anything, led to a lot of economic hardship in Swindon, and starting an economic downturn as you know, the 2011 downturn as the reason behind it. I wrote the Downturn Blues. It's about it. The lyrics speak about a guy that kind of gets sacked by his boss because they can't build any more cars, and he can't handle it. So, you know, he can't feed his kids, he can't feed his cat, can't pay his mortgage. So he takes an axe and waits for his line manager down by the park. Yeah, bit of a kind of twisted, gruesome tale, but you know, and but you know, I wrote it. It was originally kind of AC/DC type track. And if you want to hear how the original version sounds, go have a look on our Bandcamp page. There's the Live in the Nethy EP. There's a kind of early version of it on there. But by the time the guys got hold of it, John dripped it in sort of like hammered organs, and it suddenly turned into something Atomic Rooster-esque, which I never saw coming, but I think works really well. So yeah, Downturn Blues. And then next up we have A Crack Horse Confession, another song left over from the first album that kind of was never kind of followed through and given a complete rework. Originally it was just going to be me and a keyboard player, kind of acoustic-y, got a synth and vocal only, with me and Gary Turner. However, we started jamming it with the full band. It got a radical makeover and turned into what I like to call our psycho waltz. The lyrics are about a friend of mine who unfortunately got into, so the song's called A Crack Horse Confession, and basically she started getting heavily into her crack cocaine. It kind of turned her from being one of the nicest girls you could come across into a conniving, thieving little bitch, who would, like, you know, you couldn't put any money out on the side with her when she was around. She would lie, she would cheat, she would steal. And basically, the group of friends that were around her that were trying to support her had to turn around and say, look, we've had enough. Go get your head sorted out, because we have done everything we can to help you. And she was like, well, I need help, I want to get off. And every time we tried to help, it was like being punched in the face because she didn't want to know, or she couldn't because of the addiction. I know sort of dependency can be really tough on people, and it was a bit having to do the tough love bit. Look, fuck off. Glad to say that the lady concerned did manage to get her act clean, and now has moved away from Bristol, has got her family back, and is, as far as the last thing I heard from her, a year or two back I'll admit, but last thing I heard from her, she was doing well. So, but it's quite an angry song because it came from a very angry place. And interesting fact, now the album was mastered by Sue Wainwright from Bristol Death Rockers Cowder Pavonis, because she's quite good at mastering things. And she had to take her computer, while during the mastering process, she had to take her computer in for a bit of repair because she thought she had a virus. And the engineer went, oh look, there's a track here called Crack Horse Confessions. I think that's your problem. And then she had to explain to it that it was a track from this band she was kind of mastering. So yeah, sorry Sue. Next up we have a track called Girl on Tour, which a lot of people rate as one of our kind of standout tracks. It's a big kind of, I'd like to say Southern Boogie epic, because it owes a lot in its structure and style and approach to the works of bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd and Molly Hatchet, although it has got a kind of spacey kind of theme to it. I've got a friend who whose husband is kind of quite disabled, and you know, so she spends a lot, so she's actually a carer for him as well as being his wife, and she's a big sci-fi nut, and her escapism, because she can't get out much, because she needs to be at home with her husband, is kind of banging on a box set, Doctor Who, Blake Seven, Star Trek, The Expanse, something like that, and just escaping into space, almost like an echo of Seven Sisters Road from the first album kind of thing. And that song's kind of a tribute to her and sci-fi TV. If you listen to the lyrics, there's references to Lost in Space, Blake 7, Star Trek, Babylon 5, and quite a few other sort of like cult sci-fi series. So you know, people have kind of gone through and played spot the series, and some of them have come up with ones I didn't actually put in there. So it's quite interesting. But anyway, Girl on Tour, it is a part of it. It still is part of our live set when we're doing our own gigs. When I mean our own gigs, I'm talking about doing kind of like hour or more sets, or you know, when we're playing in venues where you do 2 sets of an evening. When we're doing kind of gigs with other bands, when we're kind of times limited, other materials kind of shoehorned it out because it's a long track, and you know, sometimes it's hard to fit into a kind of 40-minute set when you've still got to put in things like People in the Sky and Soldier's Song and that. So yeah, it not played as much as I'd like it to, but you know, I enjoy playing it. My opinion, it's got one of my best ever guitar solos on it, and you know, I love the bit at the end when me and John Gould are just dueling away like bastards, you know, because it's a rock and roll kind of southern space boogie kind of track. Yeah, Girl on Tour. Okay, next up we have another track called Bomb 20. Now this is one of 2 songs on this album that predates Alien Stashed in its original format. It's one of the 2 songs on this album that I originally wrote for a kind of abandoned project I was involved with a couple of mates called Spartacus Jones. And you know, Spartacus Jones can be very much seen as a couple of demos floating around somewhere, but we never gigged or anything like that. It was primarily a studio project. And you know, if we're looking back at some of the Spartacus Jones material, it was very much a kind of proto-Stashed in kind of project. And Bomb 20 was the track that I originally wrote for that. It's based on the John Carpenter classic movie Dark Star, one of my all-time favourite films, referencing the scene at the end where one of the spacemen's hanging outside talking to a sentient nuclear bomb, trying to talk it out of exploding. And love that film ever since I first saw it back in the 70s, and yeah, Richie wrote Bomb 20 about it. Again, the original version is nothing like the Stashed in version, because by the time the guys got their hands on it and added bits and twisted bits and added middle bridge sections, etc. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a chesty cold. It came out nothing like how I originally intended the Spartacus Jones version. Ended up on the album. Still one that gets played live quite regularly. Not a permanent fixture of the set, but it's one that we drag out, you know, kind of more often than not. So yeah. Then we have Song for Rachel, which was another single that we released off the album, the 2nd single, I think. Hang on. Need some fluids. Right, Song for Rachel. Now the first album, say Alien Stashed in, kind of opened a few doors for us, and on the back of that we suddenly found ourselves doing some quite major festivals, including in 2008 I think it was, Guildfest down in Surrey. Now while we were there, we were kind of watching a band called The Aliens, because we thought, yeah, why not? They're a good kind of Scottish sort of space rock band. And while we were there, I suddenly had this girl kind of comes up to us and goes, "Help, I've looked." She was off her face, wearing a yellow dress, and you know, lost her mates, didn't know where it came from, thought we were a friendly bunch of guys, decided to hang out with us instead. We're kind of nice blokes, so we took her under her wing. Now, we wanted to go and watch Blondie, who are headlining on the main stage, and before we were watching this band, The Aliens, on one of the other stages to Blondie, short walk, decided to stop for a kebab on the way over. During that period, Rachel vanished. Her name was Rachel. She came from Liverpool. She said she'd lost her friends for speeding such a fool, along with Bruce, our drummer. And we didn't see them again, not for a long time. Now, we saw Blondie. We went off to the comedy tent to watch a bit of late night stand-up. Went back to the campsite, and we had a bit of a camp out round the fire until the rain kind of put the kibosh on that. Turned into bed, and then kind of just as we were turning in, Bruce showed up on his own, looking very wet and kind of slightly sheepish. He claimed that he kind of got separated from us and walked her to the station, and then came back to the Guildford station to get a train home, and then walked back to the campsite. However, Blondie finished at 11 o'clock in the evening. He didn't turn up until 3 in the morning, missing 3 hours. Guildford station wasn't that far from where the Cattle Festival was held. I believe Bruce when he said nothing happened, because Bruce is a lovely guy and a nice family guy, but it has led to much drunken camp sort of band speculation as to what Bruce and Rachel did get up to in the missing kind of 4-hour gap. She was an attractive lass, I'll give her that. Anyway, kind of after kind of ribbing Bruce for ages, I think it was an Edge bass line originally, and then I just started jamming around on top of it, and then the rest of them joined in, and then I wrote the lyrics. And Song for Rachel, dedicated to Bruce, the Bruce and Rachel incident at Guildfest, was penned. Yeah, again, came out as a single. There's a video for it as well. Then there's The Boy Coming Home, which is the second part of the Warrior trilogy. Well, it became the second part of the Warrior trilogy. It wasn't written as such, but just the way it fell in. The Boy, again, kind of just loosely kind of just a kind of odd riff and some lyrics that I came up with, watching the Wootton Bassett repatriations of the British war dead from Afghanistan and the Gulf. And you know, kind of I found that moving, you know, but not in a kind of jingoistic way, you know, like waving flags and this, that and the other, but you know, yeah, boys coming home in body bags isn't a good image for any kind of military, you know. And I'm not anti-military, by the way, I'm just kind of anti-war. And it moved me to write the Boys Coming Home, or the lyrics at least, and just a few chords. Once again, we took it to the band. It got worked up into the full song. Big kind of anthem thing. An amazing thing. It's had a couple of great stories to that track. First time we ever played it was at a gigged it before we recorded it was at a place called the Rifleman's Arms in Glastonbury, and you know, it's got this chorus, whoa, 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 the boy's coming home. The crowd just took it. We'd never even heard it before. We'd never even played it live before. The crowd just picked up the chorus, and we just stopped playing and let the crowd sing it. And when you're doing that with a song you've written, it's a powerful emotion. And then it still is a regular part of our set. More since we've got a new guitarist in. More about that on the next video. But got a new guitarist in, and it's the one that's come back into the set more. And we played it at the Kennet Fest, which is a festival down in Yeovil that we play sort of like quite fairly regularly. And again, it always goes down well with when we perform it live. And one bloke brought this album, took it home, played that track to his mum. Then when we went back there earlier this year, he comes up to us and said, you know, you've made my mum cry with that song. And that makes me feel so touched and humble that, you know, that I could write something that could, you know, touch someone's heartstrings. I never thought I'd ever be able to do it. And, you know, it's quite moving that I have. So yeah, The Boys Coming Home, just a big anthem, and quite an emotive song. And then the last track on here, Paint Your Windows White. Now this is the other track that comes from the Spartacus Jones era, my musical career. can't remember Sparkus Jones ever actually recording it. No, he wrote the song, but again, something like I threw it stashed in, the guys picked up, and what was originally a kind of, what was that, heavy metal number, got turned into a kind of goth number. It's all keyboards, and we slowed it down, and it's a bit gothic. It's got kind of big kind of chiming chorus. It's about, you know, those of you that are old enough to remember the old Protect and Survive campaign that the government put out, how you can survive a nuclear war by painting your windows white and hiding under a carpet. Yeah, it's all about that. Contains genuine footage from government clips from government nuclear warfare warnings about what to do in the event of a nuclear attack, and quite a spine-tingling track. I still get a shiver listening to it, because it's you know, loads of us that lived through the sort of like the Cold War and the you know, 2 minutes to midnight era. You know, that was a scary moment. Yeah, scary times. A song that kind of, I hope, reflects that. So that's the tracks. Like I said, the album came out summer 2012. I meant to show you the so yeah, I showed you the there, so I showed you the Greed City montage. Just a very basic disc design. It weren't until Probe that we started doing anything flash on the discs. The booklet, so there's a better view of the album cover. Again, my photoshopping. More detailed credits on this one than on the previous one, because we have more people to thank. And then the back here, the back cover photograph, there's Bruce. Is that Bruce? Yeah, Bruce. There we go. Bruce there, John, Adge and me. Taken at a place called Mr. Chickens in Llanelli. When we used to play at a place called the Casbah over there. Venue that's now sadly shut. But we used to play over there quite regularly, and this was this chicken takeaway place around the corner. We were in there. We used to sort of like go set up and sound check, because it was a club night. We weren't normally on stage till midnight or gone, so we had a couple of hours to kill. So I'd normally go around Mr. Chickens for a bite to eat, chicken burger and that. And while we were waiting to be served or waiting for our orders, we decided to do the something like a bit like the Morrison Motel cover by the Doors came out. We decided to use it as the album cover, and we took it when the album came out. We took a copy and a framed print of that round to the Mr. Chickens, and it meant that every time we played in the Natalie, we got free roast chicken or fried chicken. However, about a year later, the place got closed down by the health inspectors for kind of gross health violations, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, so the album came out in 2012. We did a big launch party for it at the Reckless Engineer. We played with, and one of the bands that we played were our old mates Punk Rockers Hacksaw, and it was weird because we did it. It was an all-day event. There was about, you know, Estashing headline, Dave Purple and the Hot Wires were there. Oh God. Filthy Rich and the Cat Flaps. It was an all-day event. I managed to demolish a large tray of vodka jellies, which got me very drunk indeed. But hey, when you're launching an album, you can do these things. And the most fun thing was Hacksaw were playing, and the old Reckless Engineer was right by Temple Meads Station and near some quite posh hotels. And the first thing that happened was we got invaded by Leeds United football fans who had been playing at Bristol City at the time, and we decided they were going to drop in for a pint while they waited for their train home. There was no hassle whatsoever. There was one guy started going, "Oh, you're the Bristol, oh, you come on, I'll take a lot of you," and got thrown out by his own mates and told to fuck off. And then, just as they were getting into it, there was these people started showing up in tuxedos and evening dresses for a ball at a venue fairly near the pub. And just when Hacksaw went on, and there's already a load of punks and metalers and bikers in there anyway, And then Hacksaw do this track called the Bog Roll song, where they all shout bog roll, bog roll, bog roll, and throw toilet rolls around the room. I have some photos around somewhere of football fans, people in evening suits and evening dresses, punks, bikers, hippies, just kind of everyone just partying together and throwing bog rolls. It was a cracking evening. Got some fairly good reviews, this one. I have one criticism with it, and that's I'm not happy with the way the vocals are mixed. I think they're too kind of prominent in the mix overall. I would have taken them down a notch. And John did the production, in hindsight agreed with me, and it was a thing that we corrected on Probe, which is our third album, and which is one I'll be dealing with in a day or two's time when I do the last of this kind of mini series. So yeah. Once again, I'll put links where you can stream it down in the comments, and check it out, have a listen, let me know what you think. Alien Stash Tins on a Pinstripe Planet from 2012.